My name is Imelda, and my husband was diagnosed at the age of 64 with young onset Alzheimer's disease. That was in 2012, and at that stage there wasn't really a lot of knowledge around that was available about young onset Alzheimer's disease. And so one of the things that we talked about while he was still able to have a proper conversation and make decisions, was he was very keen to be involved in any sort of research that would perhaps contribute to someone who was going to follow him on the journey, having a better prognosis, perhaps a better quality of life than he was going to experience. I wasn't aware of how that was going to come about though, because I wasn't aware of how to get involved with researchers. It was a totally foreign field to me, and so I had thoughts about, okay, well, when the time comes, I'll see if I can find out if he can make a brain donation or do things like that. But because the caring, once you're caring for someone who needs your care 24/7, there's really not an opportunity to be spending time, even on the internet, spending time trawling around trying to find what you really don't even know how to find. And so it wasn't until we became connected with Dementia Australia, or Alzheimer's Australia as they were then, that we heard that yes, there is research, and they sort of were providing opportunities for media involvement and that sort of thing, and the occasional research type of opportunity. Once Graham had been in care for a couple of years, I thought, and by this time I was able to do a little bit more looking around, and I thought I would try and find out something about brain research, whether people wanted brain donations and that sort of thing. And I was extremely disappointed to find out that if we had connected with the Brain Bank and that type of organisation when Graham was first diagnosed, or even earlier in his journey, then his journey would have been useful to them because they would have been able to look at it chronologically. But because we didn't know, at the time when I contacted them, they said, no, I'm sorry, we do not have any use for your husband's donation because we haven't been able to follow him on the journey, and our research requires chronological examination of the brain. And so when I heard that there was going to be a project set up where researchers would be connected with people who would be able to help them in their research, with consumers who were experiencing the journey, particularly with dementia, I was really excited about that, because this means that a carer who wants to do research or wants to be involved in research can simply put their name down, and a researcher who is looking for their type of consumer will be able to contact them. They'll be able to find them on a database. And so the carer who has no time to be looking around is suddenly in a field where someone can find them and where their situation can be highlighted as applicable to a particular journey of research that someone is carrying out. Personally, my involvement with research since the late days of my husband's journey and since he died has been stimulating, affirming, invigorating, and it has given me a whole new passion for being able to continue what I see as my husband's legacy in using his contribution to impact research, and having a voice, being validated in the part of the journey that I had with him, because someone sees my contribution and my experience and my part in the conversation as really worthwhile. And I know from experience in research projects that I've been involved in that clinicians really do listen and look for the lived experience, because theory is one thing, but when you can talk to someone who's travelled the journey and get their experience in all sorts of areas of that journey, whether it's clinical or emotional or just the caring role, to get that first-hand experience for a researcher, I believe is invaluable. And the other thing that I've learned with projects that I've been involved in is, up to date, some projects have actually founded because they could not find enough consumers, enough people experiencing the aspect that they're researching. The researchers couldn't find enough participants, and therefore the grant that they've been given is for X number of people, but they can't find enough people to make the research valuable and to validate the research, and therefore the research founders. So the more people who are able to be connected with researchers in what I see as a relatively simple and unobtrusive way, I think that's just going to transform the research environment. But of course, it calls for people who are on a journey to be willing and able. And I appreciate that not everyone can do that. But if they are interested, it's a wonderful environment. Dementia is going to become our number one killer in the next couple of decades. The more of us who are involved in research, the more chance there is that a researcher somewhere is going to find the key that unlocks the door, that allows them to find the key to solving this awful disease. And so we need people to join in with the researchers and contribute, and that will make a huge difference.